Shading is probably the most fun aspect of drawing, and there are a number of ways of shading, but this is the main one. This is called diagonal shading. See, diagonal. But it's a soft, gentle form of shading, and why diagonal shading has become popular is because of its gentleness, because of its softness, and because of its atmospheric quality. You'll notice that I'm swinging the pencil point around my wrist. So it's swinging around like that, swinging, 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 swinging. And I don't try to stay within the lines, because staying within the lines would make the whole action tight. Let's call it uptight. Now on this one, same thing. I'll change the angle a little bit. Again, I'm working around my wrist, and my pencil is swinging, swinging, and swinging, and swinging. See? Now that's a typical set of diagonal shading. Now what I can do is I can change the angle a fraction like that and carry on with my diagonal shading. What happens here is that the beauty is increased. I'll change the angle again by moving where my wrist is. And then again. So the shading is very soft, very, very, very gentle, and very atmospheric even. There's a little touch there that needs to be filled in. When you look at it, you'll always find little touches. They have to be filled in. That's a good idea to do that. So this is basic diagonal shading. Now I'm going to do a little bit more in this one. I'll start with just the basic diagonal shading, always going over the edges, on both sides. On the left hand side here, there's going to be a soft edge. Now there, it's necessary for me to go over the edges. If I don't go over the edges there, my drawing will suffer a little bit. Now you see here, I don't have anything to rest my hand on, so this is just working from my shoulder. But still, I can swing the lines nicely and work it like that. Now this is where the light comes across the form, right there. The light spills. It's lighter towards the source of light this side and starts to get a little bit darker. Now I can do something that I normally would not advise. See, would not advise doesn't mean you never do it. It's just better to not do it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and show a little bit of the variation within the shade. Okay, so this is called the ridge of the shadow. Where the form turns away from the light, the shadows are a little bit darker, like that. Still diagonal shading. I've just lowered my wrist, I've lowered my shoulder. So a little ridge there of darkness. And this can come as dark as you like. I'll make it a bit darker so it makes that little line that I've drawn there disappear as a tiny touch. And then the light comes off the tabletop and reflects into this part of the ball there. So it'll be darkish up there. And where the tabletop reflects upwards, pencil's a bit too soft. That's okay, too hard. It's a 4B, it's a good pencil. Like that. So the reflected light comes up there. And the ridge of the shadow is there. Some people call it the hump of the shadow, I don't know why. But the ridge of the shadow is there. Then there will be no reflection in there because the light comes off there, it goes upwards. There won't be any reflection in here. So this shadow here will be darker and flatter. Make it flat. One of the basic rules of art is a subtle flatness in the rendering. I'm going to show more tone here, more tone here. And as I want to make the tones lighter, I can change my mark making. Instead of making zigzag, 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 zigzag like that, which is very nice. I like it because it's atmospheric, it's free, it's easy, it's playful. You can now do that, 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 and that. So single lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Change. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of these little lines that you draw must have a beginning on the paper, and it must have an end on the paper. Beginning and end. A little pause where you end the lines or the strokes. So now I can make it a little bit more integrated here. Your shadows will become lighter the further they are from the ball. I can't really make the shadows lighter or the lines lighter, they've already been drawn. And then here, some darkness there. Then there will be a highlight on the ball round about there. That we will usually, the easiest way to do that is to shade. Shade, 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 shade. Single stroke, single stroke, single stroke, single stroke. And then you could take a putty rubber and you could lift out a highlight there. Now the highlight will be there, and where the ball is 45 degrees to our eyes, that is where the highlight would sit, there. That's where the highlight will be. Okay. So that's the basic idea with diagonal shading. But now on this one, I'm going to try and show some roundness here. There, 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 there. And this line can start dark and come lighter, dark and come lighter. You see, you can't do this very fast. It's got to be done carefully. So there's a little bit of cross-hatching or a preparation for cross-hatching. There, 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 and there. I'm trying to show the curvature of the ball. To me, it's quite horrible. So then I can do also with the form of the ball, I can go like that, 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 and that. And there's the cross-hatching. Some people love it. I have never really met anybody that loves it, but I know that Dürer liked it. And Michelangelo used it in some of his drawings that he did for sculptures. Now, it does make a small amount of sense. If you're working on a sculpture, you want to know which way to carve, which way to cut, how to use your chisels. So this will go straight into the shadow. In this case, when you're trying to show form, you're not really trying to show light and shade. So that can go. And here to show the form, show the form, oh, show the form, show the form, show the form. I'm getting a little bit impatient here. Show the form, show the form, show the form, show the form. And where the shadow is on the tabletop, if you wanted to show that form, you could show the form like this, with straight horizontal lines, you see? And if you wanted to hatch that, you'd hatch towards the vanishing point, maybe. Maybe. I don't know why, but why not? Towards the vanishing point. And that will then show the flatness of the tabletop, whereas this will show the roundness of the sphere. And when I come around here, I'll be more like that, and here more like that. Oh, you must excuse me. I can do it. I just don't think it's worth doing. But anyway, there we go. So Dürer did work like that. Now, at this point, I'll try and insert a very good example of Dürer's hatching into the video, just around here. I'll insert that there, and then there's a hatching. And you can hatch as much as you like, as little as you like. But the idea is you're going to try and show that the ball's right. You're not even going to care about light and shade. Even in the light, you'll show the roundness. And in the shade, you'll show the roundness. So it sort of works. I suppose if you were better at this than I am, it would work better. But this is the idea. So this is cross hatching, cross hyphen hatch. Don't think you can get ing in there, cross hatch. And this is diagonal. Now, art schools or art academies have been at loggerheads about these two ways of working. Should you do all your work with cross-hatching, and the ones who are more disciplinarian, who are more dogmatic, they would probably insist on cross-hatching just because it's so difficult. You can master that, well, then you can probably master anything. There's a good reason for doing something like that. Okay, now I'll keep it flat, but I'm going to do some shade. I'm going to do some light in that part of the ball, some shading in there. So, diagonal. Just this one. It's the easiest way. Easiest is not always the best way. But notice the important thing about this. The longer your strokes are, the more they will curve. It's not a straight line. It's sort of a windshield wiper sweep that grows across your page. There. And you're going to have light spots. Go over them a little bit extra. Keep with the winter wiper shield sweep. Keep with the curvature. Keep with the curvature. And if you want to, you can do your shading lines far apart like that. There's no rule that says that they have to be tightly woven. Obviously, the tighter they're woven, like in real weave, the silkier they will be. And the wider the lightness of, the more distance there is between the strokes, the more it will be like Hessian, or the rougher the weave will be. So, but that works. Now I want to go to something else. I want to show some little bits of shading in that area, and that you can do here, as you can do small little touches like that. Like these strokes go any old which way, these strokes also go any old which way. You can even put in dots to show what's happening there. But now that these little dots and strokes that I've made there have made this one a little bit darker in the light side, so now it's necessary for me to deepen the tone of the shadow. But again, I would like the shadow tone to be flat. So I'll keep going, tidying up and filling the little holes until it flattens a bit. I then want to make this light a little darker, like I did there. In fact, it could be a little bit lighter here where I'm shading now, a little bit darker on the ridge. It could be a little bit lighter closer to us because it's further from the light source, and more light will come spilling in from around the ball. There. Now these little strokes are now a little bit weak because of the extra shading that I've done in the shadow side. But this is basically diagonal shading, but it's more than diagonal shading. This is diagonal shading with hatching. So when the old art schools were fighting with each other, all the time, the best way of shading was not diagonal shading. Diagonal shading is like this. That's not the best way to shade. Cross-hatching is like this. It's also not the best way to shade. To my mind, the best way to shade is with hatchings of diagonal shading. See, just a little bit off the diagonal, like that. That's rather nice. And then change the direction again. This time maybe like that. So this is diagonal hatching. And this is my favorite way to shade.